I'm really excited to have got to this point in teaching you about music that I get to teach you about the cycle of fifths. The cycle of fifths is almost magical in the way it represents so much of what we've been talking about in terms of music theory. It holds the key to how so many elements of music work. That's melodies, harmonies, keys, tonality. The real fabric of Western music is really held in the cycle of fifths, and it's really, really simple. And in this video, I'm just going to introduce you to the cycle of fifths so you know what it is and how we make it and why we make it. So what is the cycle of fifths exactly? Well, all it is just another way of representing pitch, so we can get a better understanding of how the different pitches are related, which pitches and their scales are more related than others. Because if you think about it, the one way we've looked at organising pitch so far is just on a line from low to high. Think of the piano keyboard. That's a very good representation of pitch on a scale from low to high. The really, really low notes go to the left at the bottom of the piano keyboard, down there, and the really, really high notes go up there at the top of the keyboard. And that's one way of looking at how to arrange these pitches. But actually there's other ways, and the cycle of fifths is one of those. And once we've drawn out this cycle of fifths, it actually starts to have some really interesting properties that we'll look at over the next few videos. To start with, all I'm going to do in this video is draw out the cycle of fifths, and hopefully you'll understand what I'm doing. The idea behind it is if we start on C, and we keep moving up through intervals of a perfect fifth, eventually we will go right the way around the circle and we'll end up back at C again. And we'll have jumped on each pitch only once. And that's one of the interesting features of the cycle of fifths. It's all based around this interval of a fifth, and if we keep jumping up by an interval of a perfect fifth, eventually we'll go through all the pitches and end up back on C. So already there's something quite special about working with arranging the pitches in this way. So to get started, we need to play our C and work out which note is a perfect fifth above C. And that is, hopefully you know by now, a G. And so this first step on our cycle of fifths, and I must apologise in advance, there's a good chance this is going to turn out as an egg of fifths because I don't write the letter names in quite the perfect circle. So we're going to try and do a cycle of fifths, but I apologise if it comes out as an egg of fifths. The first step on this cycle, or egg of fifths, is the G, and we got that by jumping up a perfect fifth from our starting note, which was a C. And so the next step is going to be doing exactly the same thing by looking at our G and saying, well, what note is a perfect fifth above that G? And that is, of course, a D. So we'll write that in, D. And then we have the same thing to do here. We've got our D, we're going to jump up by a fifth again, and just to prove that works, so C, here's C. That was 5 notes up, and we got our G. Take our G, we need the fifth above that again, and there's our D. So we need to do this one more time. How does a D major scale start? It starts like this. So we get our A. So that's very good if we go, there's our A. Okay, and we're going to keep doing this until we've gone all the way around our cycle of fifths. So the next note in our cycle of fifths will be an E. And we get that by jumping up a perfect fifth from an A. There's our A. Jump up a perfect fifth, we get an E. And we need to keep this process going to keep building our cycle of fifths. Here's our E. We're going to jump up a fifth from that, and we get a B, so that's the next step. B is the next step on our scale, or our cycle of fifths journey. Got as far as B. Now, hopefully you'll notice that something interesting happens when we look for the perfect fifth up from B. That's the beginning of the B major scale, and so the fifth degree of that scale is an F sharp. So this is the first time that we've jumped on to an accidental, a black note. And so what we'll do is we'll write both names for each note, because that'll come in handy a bit later on, because there's a point where we tend to refer to them as sharps rather than flats. Here we're looking at an F sharp or a G flat. That's the next step on our cycle of fifths. And there it is again. And if we want to get the next step, we just need to look for a fifth above that, which is a C sharp or D flat. Looks like this, C sharp or D flat. Same thing again, it's going to be a fifth above the C sharp is our G sharp or A flat. I'm going to start thinking about these in terms of flats because we tend to talk more often, I would say, on average, about A flats than G sharps, although it's pretty close. So it's more familiar to talk about this one as an A flat, although it's exactly the same pitch. To keep this pattern going, what is a fifth above an A flat? Well, that is, of course, an E flat or a D sharp. As I feared, we may be getting the egg of fifths, but hopefully you can imagine this as a circle, and I will draw it out again for future videos looking slightly more smart than this. This is just to give you an idea of how it works. We've got our E flat, we need to go a fifth above that, we get a B flat, otherwise known as an A sharp, and a fifth above a B flat is an F. So hopefully you can see that we've gone on this journey purely by jumping through intervals of a perfect fifth. We've managed to go through all 12 pitches, diatonic pitches that we use in Western music. So already this is quite cool because there's obviously something very special about the interval of a fifth, and we've learned that there is something very special about the interval of a fifth, but I think the cycle of fifths really makes that clear. And we can take this diagram, this picture that we've drawn, this cycle of fifths, to show us all kinds of things, and that's what I'm going to go through in the next few videos to introduce you to all of the different ways you can use this cycle of fifths.